Okay, so let's say you start with a figure that looks something like this. Sorry for the ugly nature of it. Anyone know what you call this, first of all? Assuming you can even tell what that is. Sorry. 6. Stop signs have 8. Stop signs are octagons. This is a hexagon. So we would call this anybody know?
No.
Hexagonal prism. So let's say all these sides are 5 and this is 6, and I wanted the net for that. First of all, how many faces is this figure going to have? It's got how many rectangles that wrap around? 6 plus 2 bases, so it'd be 8, okay? So what I would do here is I would draw all those rectangles. Oh. So this is not drawn to scale, by the way, first of all. 2, 3, uh-oh. I'm gonna run out of room. 4, we'll go here, 5, and 6. So you have 6 rectangles that are all 5 by 6. Sorry that they don't look 5 by 6. Where do I put the hexagons? Anywhere-ish. One has to be on top, one has to be on bottom, okay? So anywhere on top is fine. Anywhere on bottom is fine. And then just make sure you label, and it's better to over-label than to under-label. If you do like this, if you set up rectangles like this, as long as one of them is labeled 6, you don't need to label all the rest of them. But these sides, especially if they're different lengths, make sure you're telling me what those lengths are. Okay? Yes?
But if we're not sure what to label, we're not label everything, and there's no way we'll get marked down.
I will not mark down for labeling everything. No. It's just I need to know that you understand each shape's dimensions. So I don't need you to label like 5, 6, 5, 6, but I need to know that this was 6, so all of these are 6. That's fine. You can just label the one, but one of these two should be labeled 5. Okay. Okay, we also did orthographic drawings where you do the top view and the front view and the right view. I don't have one of those done up right. Do you want to see an orthographic? I might just draw that on dot paper in a little bit. You okay with that? If you want to see it, let me know. I can do one. Then we did stuff like collinear and coplanar and non-coplanar, non-collinear. What's collinear? Yeah. Points that are on the same line. So let's just do a picture here. Let's say this is plane P, and you have, what does a dotted line mean? It's going through the plane, not on the plane. All right, so let's say you have all these points. This is A, O, B, D, C, and T. All right, so in this figure, can you tell me 3 collinear points? Yeah. A, B, and what's your third point? O, right? So 3 collinear points would be A, O, and B, or you could say C, O, and D. Okay. How about coplanar? If I want, so this is 3 collinear. What's 4 coplanar points? Four points that all lie on the same plane. Yeah. T, C, O, and D. Are there any other options for coplanar? A, C, D, B. Right. Okay, now I'm just going to warn you for tomorrow on the test. There's a picture that looks a lot like this, and I ask for coplanar points, and a lot of people tell me A, B, C, D, and I mark it wrong. Do you see why? If I have a line here and I have a line here, is there a plane that can go through them? This one right here, right? The vertical plane. So just be careful with that you don't just pick 4 points because 2 of the points are not on the plane that's given. If there's a plane that would go through it, they are coplanar. So if you want to do 4 coplanar points, TCOD works, or A, B, C, D works. If you want to do 4 non-coplanars, you need to be very picky about what points you pick, because that could be like TOC and A, right? But it cannot be A, B, C, and D. So T, O, C, and B, we'll say. Okay, so this would be 4 points that are not on the same plane. So my recommendation is pick 4 or 3 points that are on the plane you see, and then 1 point that's not on that plane. But don't pick any that are in a straight line. Okay. How about non-collinear? Can you give me 3 non-collinear points? Yeah, Daniel. A, T, and C would be non-collinear. Okay. Questions on any of those 4 terms? Okay, can you tell me the intersection of plane P and line CD? Where does plane P meet line CD? Matthew. It's not just O. It's line CD. Right, because this line here is on our plane, right? So basically I'm saying, where does this piece of paper meet the line on the piece of paper? And the place they meet is the line, right? Okay, so we would say the intersection of that line and plane P would be the line. What would be the intersection of line AB and plane P? So line AB is this guy here. Plane P is this plane. Where do they meet? Daniel.
O.
At O. Okay? So you just have to pay attention to what you're looking at. Line AB cuts through the plane, so the only place it meets is that point that touches the plane. So that would be point O. Okay? That would be their intersection. Questions on that? Okay, 2 planes always meet at a what? Remember the wall and the floor? They meet at a line. 2 lines always meet at a what? A point. Okay? All right, tell me this. If I were to give you 2 different segments, one that looks like this, one that looks like this, and this is A, B, and C, and A, B, and C. For this first one, if I told you B is the midpoint, versus on the second one, if I told you that AC has a length of 24. Okay? Let's say you had 2x plus 5 and 4x minus 6, and here you had, yeah, that would work, x plus 3 and 4x plus 7. Okay? Those 2 problems look very similar. What's the difference, and what do you do differently in them? So how are you going to set up this first problem? If I tell you B is the midpoint and that's the information we know, what do? Yeah, Julia. Right. Right. So when they tell you B is the midpoint, you're going to set those two expressions equal. Okay? What do you do on this second one? What's the difference, Matthew? Right. So on this one, you're going to take these two parts, x plus 3 and 4x plus 7, and set it equal to the total, the 24. Okay? So pay attention to the wording. If I tell you it's a midpoint, you set things equal. If I tell you the whole length, you add them together and set it equal to that total. Okay? Same goes for angles, right? If I give you that this is a bisector, then you would do like you did here. You would set your expressions equal, okay? Whereas if I did like a linear pair, you would add these together and set it equal to what? 180. Okay, so just pay attention to if you have a midpoint or a bisector, you set it equal. If you don't, you need to add the parts together and set it equal to the total. Classifications. What's an acute angle? Less than 90. What's an obtuse angle? More than 90, less than 180. What's a right angle? 90. What's a straight angle? 180. Okay. Constructions we will do. You will need to know some of the formulas that we've worked with. I don't give you any formulas on this test. So make sure that you remember the distance formula. You've done that one for 2 years now, so hopefully it's sticking with you. But if it's not, write this down so you can study it. Okay, that's distance formula. And then you'll also need to know the midpoint formula so you can find the midpoint of something. So that's this one. Okay, so distance formula and midpoint formula. Distance formula, you're just plugging numbers in. Midpoint formula, if I ask you to find the midpoint, again, you're just plugging numbers in. But when I ask you to find an endpoint, that's where you got to choose the number line way that I showed you or the formula way that I showed you. I forget what you guys were. Number line? Formula. You were mostly formula, but a little bit of both. I'll show you one of both right now just so you're clear. So let's say I tell you that the midpoint of AB is 6, -2, and point B is 8, 3. Okay, I want to know what is point A. So we're looking for that other point. If I tell you the midpoint, that means this is your X midpoint and your Y midpoint, okay? This is your X1, Y1, and then what we're looking for is our X2, Y2. Okay, if we're gonna plug it into the formula, you break it into 2 parts. Just deal with the X's, just deal with the Y's. So if we're doing our X's, it's gonna be my midpoint, so 6, equals X1 plus X2, which we're gonna solve for, divided by 2. Okay, and then you do your Y's. Your Y midpoint, -2, is Y1 plus Y2, which we're solving for, divided by 2. How do you solve those? What's your first step? Yeah. Multiply by 2. So times 2 times 2. So you get 12 equals 8 plus X2. Take away the 8. Oops, not divide, take away. So your X2 is 4. Okay, same thing over here, multiply by 2, multiply by 2. So -4 is 3 plus Y2. Take away 3, and you get -7 for your Y2. So that means your answer is -4, -7. Okay, for your other endpoint. +4, sorry. I don't know why I wrote negative. +4, -7. Questions on that? Okay, do you want to see the number line way? I don't remember who in here did number line. I need a nod if you want it. We're good? Okay. And then the other formulas that I want to make sure you're good on deal with circles. So with a circle, if we do circumference, what's the formula? 2 pi r, or what? Pi d. Okay, so you can use either one of those for circumference. And then what's the area formula? Pi r squared. Okay. Make sure you know those, and make sure you know distance and midpoint. The rest of them I feel like you've done so many times in your life that you know them already. But those are the ones that tend to be struggle points for most people. And I think that is it, other than, let me see, maybe I can just take a picture of this real quick. An orthographic of this picture. I kind of labeled for you different parts. So all the F's are your front, right? The shading is your top, and then the dots are your right side. And then it's just a matter of drawing those. So if we start with, God bless you, the top view, okay, you would see 1, 2, and then 2 behind that. So 1 block, 2 blocks, and then the one behind that is 2 wide. And then this would be next to the second one, so that would be right here. And then next to that back one is 2 more. And then next to that would be 1 more. Okay, so that would be your top view. Your front view would be, I'm just gonna shade red, those 3. So I'm gonna start there just because there's a lot going on with that other piece. So you have 1, 2, and 3. And then this piece you gotta be real careful with because there's a lot of blocks there. So it's 2 across the top, so 2 over, and then you drop down 1 level and move over 2 again, and then drop down 1 level, move over 1, drop down 1 level, and then you're gonna connect back to where you came from. So that would be your front view. And then your right side view, you would have 1, 2, 3 on top of each other, and then 2 on top of each other, and 1 next to that. So 3, 2, and 1. Okay, questions on those? Okay, only other thing then that I want to do is any constructions that you want to see.